All right, hello and welcome to another Expert Inside interview. My name is John Golden from SalesPOP, online sales magazine and Pipeliner CRM, joining you in from sunny San Diego. And today I'm delighted to be joined by Tamara Jackson, who is in lovely Charlotte, North Carolina. How are you doing, Tamara?
I am doing excellent, John. Thank you so much for the opportunity to chat with you today and hopefully share something that will help the audience.
Yeah, and Tamara is a strategic sales advisor, investor, and founder of Lead Reviver, a company that helps businesses turn cold leads into warm conversions using AI that sounds human and sells with heart. And that's what we're going to talk about today. Is that whole thing about how do you maintain the human element? How do you maintain the credibility and maybe even like the ethics of it? I mean,
Mm.
how do you leverage AI in the most responsible way possible in sales?
John, I think the root of it is just remembering that AI is a tool. And I think whenever we see a tool as a solution in and of itself, that's when we start getting into trouble. I
Yeah.
can even look at it from a very simple use case. In many businesses today, people have recognized the power of AI to help with
Mhm.
content creation, right?
Yep.
So we can talk about social media, email, blogs, all of those things. But if we just say, create a post about XYZ, don't really give it any context on who you are, the
Yep.
people that you serve, and why this particular solution that you have is meaningful to them, you're going to get really generic
Yep.
content that sounds like everyone else. And so I
Exactly.
think what we need to do when we talk about leveraging AI to help with the sales process is not make that mistake. We need to invest the time to ensure that the AI tool that you put in place really understands your business. I
Hmm.
think that is where it absolutely starts by creating what we often call in our space a knowledge base of information that can help train your AI tool, just like you would train someone that was
Right.
coming to work in person in your business.
Yeah.
Someone shared with that with me early on in the AI journey is if you think about AI as someone that works on your team, it really
Yeah.
shifts the way that you use it.
Yeah. No, I couldn't agree more. And I think people are uh only coming around now to understanding how much data and, as you said, knowledge and stuff, how important that is. Because when the recent wave of AI came on and you ChatGPT and all those tools, people were like, oh yeah, but they don't realize that if you want to bring it inside your organization, if you want to leverage it off a different data set, your own data set, then that becomes, then what is that data set? Is it clean? Is it accurate? Is it, because otherwise you're just going to start creating hallucinations.
Yeah, I mean, it requires you investing time on the front end for
Mhm.
AI to be effective for your business. And I think that's another mistake that can easily be made is thinking, hey, I can just grab this, plug in a few things here and there, and then I'm
Mhm.
off to the races.
Right.
And I guess the misleading part of it is that you can get something up and running, but the question is it effective?
Yeah.
And I have a background when I was in corporate. One of the jobs that I loved most was in training and development. And it was our responsibility when we had a new hire to come in to spend weeks with them to help them understand the business so that they could effectively service the customers. And fast forward to today, things are very different. We figured out ways to be able to expedite that learning process. But I think the principle still holds true. You need to invest sufficient time so that once that tool is
Yeah.
released, it is a true extension of you. It understands you and how you want to operate, the voice that you communicate with, the kid gloves that you want to
Mhm.
treat your clients with. You
Yep.
have to invest time for that to happen.
Yeah, and I think there's a couple of things there I just wanted to come back on that you just said there, which I think is really important. We AI right now in a lot of organizations kind of resembles the early days of having smartphones, where it was people brought them into the business. Individuals started using, there wasn't a strategy around it. People didn't know what to do. IT were freaking out. I think somewhat the same thing is happening in a lot of organizations where people are adopting, like say salespeople are adopting different AI tools. But as you said, there's no training, there's no strategy around it. It's literally, yeah, I mean, and a lot of the management is saying, well, if it helps you, fine, use it, but I don't really understand it. And I think that's the mistake. That's the mistake you're talking. It's not being looked at strategically in organizations.
Yeah, absolutely, John. And I think that the risk is that these tools are rolling out really, really fast. And even just because you aren't embracing it in your
Mhm.
organization and investing the time to understand its value doesn't mean that others in your space are not.
Oh, yeah.
So I think the gap between you and your competitors is able to grow so much quicker than it did before, simply by others prioritizing this, recognizing, hey, this can be a game changer for my business. And by the way, can actually help me to better service our prospects and our clients. I think that's the other
Mhm.
thing that we can't afford to miss. In many instances, AI is hands down than a person handling that role.
Yeah.
So it truly is a competitive advantage, and we miss out on huge opportunities when we think that it's something that we can afford to look at 6 months from now, a year from now, 2 years from now. If you make that mistake, your competition will literally be years ahead of you.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think that's why organizations, they just need to start looking at what are humans good at? What are my salespeople? What are my teams? What are they good at? What are they best at?
Yes.
And what is AI best at? And marry the two instead of, I mean, because instead of this whole thing like, oh, just replace all the salespeople with AI. Yeah, good luck with that. And a lot of
No,
it,
not
good luck with that.
a good
Now, I
idea.
do agree. What people will often say is, salespeople who use AI will replace salespeople who don't. I 100% agree with that statement.
Agree. Yes. Yes. 100%. In our work at Lead Reviver, John, we have kind of narrowed in on what you just described is understanding where this is the best use case for AI to step in and when it makes sense to speak with a human. So in our space, what we've identified is that the very beginning of the conversation really can benefit by speaking to a human, getting those initial questions answered, demystifying the solution, helping the prospect understand really how it works. And sometimes that person is going to be ready to move forward right away. But you and I know, John, we've been in business a long time, and we know the vast majority of people do not say yes in that first conversation. So the fortune, I'm sure you've heard it many times, the fortune is in the follow-up, right?
Yeah.
But that's
Yeah.
where it becomes really challenging because salespeople by nature are motivated to talk to the person who is calling right now, the person that is sitting in front
Mm.
of me. That's just the way, having worked with salespeople for years and years and years in the corporate space and then running my own business, I know the focus tends to be this is the bird in the hand. I want to focus on making sure that I can close this conversation right now. But the reality is that yesterday, the day before, and months before, I talked to so many people, and trying to figure out how I'm going to follow up with each of those people can really be a challenge. And I've
Mhm.
seen that be true, whether we're talking about a small organization or a large Fortune 500 organization. So this is where AI can step in, because if you invest the time to train it on how to follow up on your leads, then it can handle a lot of that back and forth for you. And then when the prospect is ready to continue the conversation, now we can bring that salesperson back into the space to actually make sure that all of the key pieces come together for that prospect and they're ready to move forward. So I think, as you've described here, it's all about segmenting the process and figuring out where is it best for a human to be involved and when does it make sense to leverage the power of AI.
Yeah, no, and I like, absolutely. And I love there what you said about leading with the human and then the AI, because there's a lot of people out there now who are trying to promote the idea of, no, lead with the AI, let the AI do it all, let the AI qualify everything, and then you come in. And that's just, and I don't think that works, honestly. And I think the one that you've outlined better with the human, then the AI follow up, then the human, I mean, that makes a lot more, instinctively makes a lot more sense.
Yeah, I mean, I think what the temptation, because AI is from a cost standpoint, can be much more streamlined. We're able to
Mhm.
keep costs down. I think the temptation could be to put it at the front of the process. But the risk is that we lose that human connection. And I think,
Mhm.
when I think about how I was trained in sales, one of the key things that was really driven home for me, John, was that this is an emotional decision.
Yes.
And as amazing as AI is, it is not a human. And we can only really make that emotional connection when we have a conversation human to human. And that's why I believe that the process is best started with a human, and then let AI kind of do some of the more repetitive tasks that actually are not really efficient for humans to do. And
Mhm.
quite honestly, we're not always really good at. That's when I think it makes to insert AI
Yeah.
in the process.
Oh, 100%. I mean, I think anything that's routine, anything that's low value, and things that yeah, generally you're not good at it, let AI take care of them, and focus on the things we have strength. And one thing I wanted to come back on, because I think it's a really important point that you just made there, and often people overlook this. They sometimes think that, uh, especially in B2B, like a B2B sale, like, so I'm selling to another business, doesn't, therefore it's a very pragmatic, practical decision. You're saying, well, no, there's human beings involved in that decision. And I always say, you
Absolutely.
make a bad purchase as a consumer, right? You only hurt yourself, right?
Mm.
uh, you make a bad purchase or a mistake when you're in a business, and that can hurt your career, can hurt your perception, the company. Likewise, if you make a good decision, it can be, oh, boy, this fantastic. There's more people, there's usually more than one a person involved in the conversation, so they also have their motivation. So if you take the emotional piece away, I think that's so dangerous.
John, and one of the things that you shared that I think is so important, I want to drive this home so that our audience really takes this away, because most of the people that we work with are people in a B2B business.
Mhm.
So they're ecom founders, SaaS founders, et cetera. And so they're trying to win that business relationship. And one of the things that we really spend a lot of time making sure that we slow down and recognize is that when we're talking B2B, there are multiple stakeholders
Yep.
in this decision. In
Absolutely.
B2C, you might be talking about the husband or the
Mhm.
wife, but now you're talking about the board of directors, the
Mhm.
CEO, the CEO. There are so many different roles. And we all know that that often elongates the sales process. But one of the things that we can do to put time on our side is not to lose sight of the fact that these are still people
Yep.
making decisions.
Mhm.
That is the key. It is a business decision, but it's still people making decisions. And if we can build that connection one on one, start seeing the five people that are involved, not as just the CEO, but as a person that has preferences, that has needs. There's a certain way that you can communicate with them that will be more effective than someone else. It's taking the time to understand who you're speaking to and what their needs are that is
Mhm.
so important.
Yeah. And then you can take all of that information, and then you can leverage AI to even enrich that and get a deeper understanding, and really, and look for solution, and come back and be so much more educated in your conversation. So it has such a great part to play. But you're right, is we can't leave it to AI in right now. We can for sure. I mean, who knows? I'm not making any predictions about the
Yeah,
future.
who
I
knows
think
what the future holds?
Well, I think, Tamara, I think, like, once upon a time pre-COVID, I was fairly skeptical about lots of things. Now I'm just like, yeah, it could happen. Who knows?
Right? You just
Yeah,
never
you
know.
just
And
never
the
know.
reality is things are happening so quickly. So it really
Mhm.
depends on who you follow. I've seen
Yeah.
some that say by 2030, the world is going to look drastically different, right?
Mhm.
So you just never really know. And so that's why I think, this conversation that we're having today and podcasts like these are so important because it keeps the conversation front and center. I don't think,
Mhm.
regardless of what role you have, whether you are running your own business or working in a company, you just cannot afford to not keep up, and you've got to
Yeah.
keep your eye on the ball here.
Yeah, and I think the other thing that's adjacent to, obviously, AI is the automation piece. Is that you need to be efficient in automating as much as
Yeah.
possible. One of the comments you made earlier, about like follow up and follow up. I mean, sometimes we know nowadays, sometimes even if somebody is initially enthusiastic, it could take 12, 15 follow-ups before you even, yeah, before you bring this home or even get it to close to the finish line. So that's something, as you said, we're not always great at. So that's where, like,
No.
you can leverage automation there to make sure that you are, and that you're part of that automation. So there are times that it's inserting you into the process.
Absolutely. I mean, that's the reality, John. Even the best salespeople, and I've worked with some really amazing
Mhm.
salespeople. When you talk about following up 10, 12, 15 times, we as humans tend to grow weary in that process. And the beauty
Exactly.
of AI is once you have trained it to perform a function with your voice using your knowledge base, it's just a matter of programming. So that
Mhm.
AI will follow up until that prospect says no, or a really great AI will know how to manage that conversation and be able to determine, is it really a no or is it a not now? Should I follow up
Mhm.
in 30 days, 60 days, right? But humans, we really struggle with that. And one of the things that I've identified, John, is that emotional thing that we talked about earlier about humans making the emotional connection. There also can be a downside to that when we feel like it's not, we're not connecting, or we
Yes.
take it personal, right? That this
Mhm.
person isn't responding to my emails, they're not responding to my texts. We come up with all these stories about what's happening. And sometimes, just as you've described, John, it's just that life has gotten in the
Yeah.
way. I didn't see the email. There could be so many reasons that they're not responding. And so sometimes we can get in our own way with some of the mind junk, I call
Yeah.
it, that we bring into the sales process. And AI, thankfully, doesn't have that problem.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and I think that's a, and I think that's a really important point too, because fatigue gets in there, the ball gets dropped, people get, internally, people start pointing fingers. I think the
Yeah.
more you can leverage AI, the more you can leverage automation, and make sure that you are keeping the human for the high value activities, and you're keeping them fresh and motivated.
Absolutely. And even to your point, John, that you made about leveraging automation, but making sure that you're inserted in that
Mhm.
process. I think one of the key things that we can do when we're leveraging automation is not make it a set it and forget it thing, right?
Yeah.
The same analytics that we would bring to anything else, we need to bring to this. Okay, what's happening with this automation? Are people responding to the
Mhm.
messages that I'm using here?
Yeah.
Are they not? How can I tweak it? Which ones seem to resonate better than others? That analytics process is also a part of how you bring you into that process so that you can tweak it and it can sound more like you. It can sound more aligned to your prospects' needs, but it's going to take time. I mean, there is no shortcut. We would all like a pull it out of the box and everything works type of a solution. But the reality is that we have to spend time with these tools to get them where we want them to be.
Yeah, unfortunately, that old, do you remember the old red easy button? It doesn't exist, really. It never
Yes,
did.
yes. We all wish there really was an easy button.
But I think, Tamara, exactly what you said from the beginning. I think the issue here is either a company can let AI and all the changes in the world dictate where it goes after the fact,
Mm,
or companies can become proactive and say, okay, I need a strategy. What can AI do to help my sales organization, my market, whatever? I need to understand this because I need to build a strategy where I'm using leveraging AI for the things that it's really good at, and I'm leveraging my people. And this is the opportunity. It's the opportunity to actually focus people more on what they're strong in, as opposed to always
absolutely.
hammering them on what they're weak on.
Absolutely, 100%. And the reality for many people, John, is this is going to mean that I'm going to have to partner up with someone.
Yeah.
Many of these leaders have so many responsibilities already on their plate. So I can get it why you would say, wow, I don't have time to do this. But just because you as an individual don't
Yeah.
have time to do it doesn't mean that it's not a priority. So the question becomes, who can you tap in your organization? Some people are designating an AI champion within their company, and it's something that they're already passionate about, that, as you've said, about strengths, and they are willing to dig into this and help come up with the strategy. And some people will have to partner with someone outside of their organization that has the expertise in AI and automation that can help them see what is not immediately, just connecting for them, right? They need
Yeah.
someone to kind of guide them and help them to see what is possible. But one of the two things has to happen. We can't afford not to invest the time and the resources.
Yeah. And then ultimately AI becomes that partner. Once they understand,
Absolutely.
then yeah, no, I totally agree with you, and I think that's always a great way to start an organization. I mean, if you don't, is to find out who are the. I guarantee you, in every department, I guarantee in the sales department now, there's somebody who's using a bundle of tools, and it's like, oh, as you said, find those people and say, okay, go do some proper research, come back, work with work with the head of sales or whatever, and come back with a proposal for what you think is the right way to go. Because let's face it, you'll get great research out of an enthusiastic person. If you just
Absolutely.
you call in your head of IT now and say, go do AI research, they'll probably go, there's so many security issues. I don't think we should do AI.
Yes, 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 right? So I love it. That's one of the things that I learned in corporate is find someone that's
Yeah.
enthusiastic about this, give them a project. It's an opportunity for them to develop some new skills of doing the research, preparing the presentation. I mean, some people will really be excited about that
Mm.
opportunity. And then you benefit as a leader because you have someone that's really digging into this. They have an understanding of your business and they know, kind of the boundaries that they need to
Mhm.
operate within. And then fast forward a year from now, your business is in a totally different place. So
Yeah.
the resource that you're looking for might already be in your organization. So I would challenge you to have those conversations, put out those feelers. I'm sure you'll have someone that will raise their hand.
Yeah, I have no doubt that there's some people in every organization, and I think it's a great opportunity. It's a great opportunity to show, as you said, to show as a leader, to show like that that there's opportunities for people in the business, that you recognize that people may have more to offer and more talent. That's never a bad message, is it?
No, absolutely not. I mean, it can be a big confidence boost for them to realize that you're entrusting
Yeah,
them with this opportunity. And who knows, you might see that this person could be an up and coming leader in your organization that you just didn't know the potential that they had
exactly.
until they got the right project.
Exactly. Love it. Well, listen, thanks so much, Tamara. This has been great. All of Tamara's information will be below this video. But before we go, please do remind people about what you do.
Absolutely. I am honored to be a founder of Lead Reviver, where we take ghosted cold leads and turn them into new revenue. So, if AI is something that's on your radar and you're trying to figure out how you can use it to reactivate some of the leads that have been sitting dormant in your CRM, we can partner with you. And the good news is that you don't have to figure it out yourself. Most of the work we do is done for you. So, I'd love for you to visit us at leadreviver.pro. John, thank you so much for the
Of
opportunity to
course.
be here and share with your audience
Of
today.
course, it was fantastic. Thank you, Tamara. And thank you for watching and listening. And we'll see you all again very soon. Thank you.